Hey guys, Luton here, and some pretty exciting news today in changes with Battlefield 4. Now, triage is a concept that was actually brought up way back in Battlefield 3 forums. In fact, it was January 2012 it was actually brought up. Now, as far as I've been able to be aware, it was actually brought up by this guy, Frax Zeno, and here's the post. And he basically posted this image and said, let me know what you think. Nothing really happened with it, and then up until the CTE the other day when somebody else posted in the forum and said, hey, this got recommended way back, he couldn't remember who, one of my Twitter followers managed to track it down. Now, what actually is triage and what's it going to mean for the game? Well, here's the original image that was provided by him, and it says, triage, the process of determining the priority of patients' treatments based on the severity of their condition. And you can see in the graphic that Zenon made up, basically every player who's down on the ground has got obviously the revive icon next to them, but then outside around the revive icon it actually has like a little coloured bar, and that is going around determining how much longer that person has on the ground before they will automatically be revived. Now obviously that player can choose to revive themselves if they want to, you know, they can respawn, but obviously if they're down on the ground waiting for the revive, it's showing you how much longer they have on there before you miss that revive. Because you know how it is, you're in game, you have 2 or 3 players on the ground, you start running towards one guy, and then just as you get to him it loses the revive. Okay, and then you turn around, you go for the next guy, and you miss him as well. And if you had that opportunity to prioritize and go, okay, that's, you know, I'm maybe not going to get to him, you can see he hasn't got enough time left, you could go over to the other guy. And then he goes on with 3 little steps about why you would want this. Well, 1, prioritize your revives. That's very important, understanding which player you're going to go to first, who's got the least time. 2, stop wasting time struggling to get to somebody just to see their body disappear, as we said. And 3, judge if there is enough time to secure the area prior to reviving. Now obviously we know this one as well, because sometimes you run towards a guy, and this is often why I do not revive, because sometimes I want to move in, I look around, and then by the time I've looked around it's safe, I turn back and hey, he's actually gone. So sometimes that's a really critical thing as well, whereas if you see they've got plenty of time, hey, that's no problem, you can take that extra time to look around and then safely go for the revive. But if they've got very little time, you've got to make that snap decision. Do I try to check and revive, or do I just leave it? And that's really going to be a good factor in there. So really exciting. Well, how do we know that this is definitely going to happen? Well, the CTE forums are already paying off. This was, as I say, brought up again in the CTE forums, and then I actually tweeted it out this week as well, and you can see here it was a really popular tweet. It was retweeted and favorited over 80 times, and then a load more today as well. So people really want this. For my Twitter to get that many retweets, that's pretty unusual out of the stuff that goes out there, and so people really getting behind this idea. And then also, as I say, I actually passed it on through to DICE themselves as well. I passed it on there, and I don't know whether that actually had anything to do with it, or whether they literally just saw the post and thought, hey, yeah, this is actually a really good thing, let's do it. To be honest, it really doesn't matter. What's important is that it's actually just going to be in the game now. They've said, it's confirmed, he said we're going to test it on CTE, and then it's going to come forward into the full game, I guess, if it's successful in CTE, and it seems to be working, and people think it's a good idea. So that's actually a really positive thing. And you know, this is what we were saying before with my previous video about CTE. It's great that it's actually having a constructive input, it's great that they're actually reading the posts, it's great that they're having this interaction, it's great that they look at an idea like this and say straight away, let's do it. Now, of course, this was mentioned way back in Battlefield 3 and nothing happened. Now, it's a shame that didn't happen, but it's a good thing that it is happening right now. And as I say, if this is the start of how it's going to be, then it's a positive thing. And so to all those people who commented on the last video with just constant negative stuff and saying like, oh, the game's broken, you've had my money, it's screwed, this should have been at the beginning, blah 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 blah, if that's your attitude, then the next game is going to be as bad as this one. Let's positively try and make these changes right now, as we're doing through the forums on the CTE and interacting with DICE, and actually make the games better, because the next games that's going to come out, we're going to need that sort of input and interaction. If at least they're actually trying to interact and make these changes, rather than just leaving it and say, well, it's broken, whatever. You know, at least they're actually trying, because if they have that attitude now, they'll have that attitude going into the beginning of the next games and the next games. And that's really what we want, because otherwise nothing's going to change. It's just going to stay bad. Nobody's going to have an enjoyable time. The next game will be as unfun for those of you who seem to really hate the game right now, and it just won't be good at all. So I am actually, this is fantastic. It's good that they've done it, and what a quick turnaround as well. This was only posted in the last week. Already they've come forward and said, yeah, we're going to do it. So fantastic stuff. So triage on the way for Battlefield 4. As always guys, if you enjoyed, drop a little like, always helps me out, and I'll see you next time. More Battlefield 4.